Well, maintaining the cow.
Okay, well, welcome to the George Rockall-Schmidt Show. I hope everybody had a good Halloween. What did you do for Halloween? Damien?
I was working.
Oh, right, okay. So spitting in people's onion rings then?
Well, yeah, naturally, but that's part of the course. I think that's almost redundant to say. No, obviously I was working.
But Damien, when you were doing that, were your windows down and were your fingers up? Yeah, smash the system.
Fight the power.
911 is quite ineffective. Get down.
Yeah, so I was at work, but we were candid and jovial about the whole thing. So we put on a special Halloween pie.
Oh,
which was it was horrible.
Full of spiders.
Well, we tried to kind of finagle some of the pastry crust around the side of the bowl to look like cobwebs. Unsuccessful. It just looked like we were amateurs.
I mean, was this on the menu?
I don't know what was going through my boss's head, but all right. So make it like kooky and fun. What we'll have is we'll just have the legs of a dead bird like sticking out of the pie. So, all right, okay, fine.
Okay.
Are we gonna maybe we should like confit these or prepare them or something like that? No. Raw legs just sticking out of the pie.
Raw,
all right, that's
okay.
what we're gonna. Yeah, it's gonna go in the oven. It's fine. It's fine.
Like you put the bird in unplugged into the pie before baking it.
It's not that far. We basically just we took a cleaver and hammered the fucking legs off and then just jammed it in. And we took most of the feathers out. I think some people even found shot in it. So
some people found shot in the pie.
Yes, yeah.
I don't understand why hasn't the London restaurant industry worked out that you can just farm game?
I don't know. I think they like the sport. That's why they call it game.
Yeah, well, but the people eating it, they don't have to fucking know. Just get a load of magpies or whatever in an attic, and just get put your hand up in the attic hole every now and then, get one, grab one, pull it down, cook it, and that's free range. But they're enclosed. You don't have to go out and shoot them. That's very inefficient.
Yeah, but I presumably it's more fun for the gamekeepers. Well, then what are they going to do?
Speaking of agricultural theory, I heard that the future is something called, I don't know if you've ever heard of this term, battery farming.
Pray tell.
Why do you have to go out and shoot a pheasant? Just farm the pheasants. Just get them to get an enclosure and just breed them. That would be way cheaper.
Yeah, but you see, it's got to be lean meats. They have to be wild animals which are always running for their lives from these fucking sick fucks with their shotguns.
You can get them exercising and it'd still be cheaper. Just get the farmhand in there running after them all day or something.
These little treadmills, get those going.
Why does it have to be grass?
Grouse, as in
grouse.
Are you familiar with grouse?
Yeah, grouse. Yeah.
Okay.
Whiskey.
That would fuck with the electronics. That doesn't make any sense.
Okay, well, neither would grouse. Grouse would fuck with the electronics.
Are we still talking whiskey or the actual birds? Are they just going to get bored of running all fucking day and they just start fucking henpecking it? It's like, fuck this. I'm about to add enough. They're devious birds. They'll start to, they'll start to kind of work together and figure this shit out.
I remember once when I was a very, very small child, about 5 years old, I went to Wales with my family to visit some of my family's friends, and they lived on a farm in Wales. And I remember that they let me do whatever I wanted, and my parents were just sort of like, "Oh, it's great to see our friends. Tss, you do what you want, George," sort of thing. And
so I took a shit on the kitchen counter, and no one said a fucking thing. Best holiday.
They were that's what it made the best holiday as well, because I did it with a magic watch, like in Click. You've brought me on to Click. I've just finished watching Click.
Really? I'm surprised that's not something we would say for this. But do tell, because I haven't watched that.
Well, let me finish my goose story first.
Okay.
So I remember I would do what I wanted, and I remember one day the sort of farm woman coming outside and saying, "Are those geese chasing after you?" And I was about 5, and I was like, "No, I'm chasing after the geese." And I was chasing after the geese, and she was like, "Ha ha, yeah, chase after the geese." If that woman had known what I'd have done to those fucking geese, and I got them. Well, when he was 7, Humphrey Bogart got 7 geese on a string.
What?
No, it wasn't Humphrey Bogart. It was Errol Flynn.
Okay.
Errol Flynn got 7 geese on a string. What he did was he put something on the end of a string, and it was it was the sort of fat that geese can't process, and they just, if they eat it, they immediately defecate it out.
Right, okay.
But they're pretty interested in eating it. So he found this out and fed it to a goose while it was on a string, and it went through the goose, it came out of the goose was still attached to the string, and then another goose ate it. And through that, he got 7 geese on a string.
Fucking hell, that's a nightmare. That's the original fucking centipede right there.
Have you never seen the thing with like the dog, the meme or the trope of the dog eats the tinsel at Christmas and then it shits out the tinsel?
I have.
If it doesn't die, I guess. if the dog isn't your Christmas dinner, then it never has to endure shitting it out. It just is killed by your hand.
Oh, yeah, no, I just quickly punched in dog eats tinsel, and it just looks like, I don't know. There's a couple of thumbnails of this bald dude and his little box and his boxer dog, and he looks like he's restraining him, but it looks like it could be a thumbnail from quite a dodgy website. It's kind of quite a mounting pose there, and naturally, there's a lot of anus with tinsel hanging out of it. Okay, my life is definitely the better for this.
It's like the time I said, type in scat porn into Google, and you were like, all right.
No, I remember it.
No, I didn't hold you down.
He just brought in, he was just starting riffing on something. He just said something about Mr. Scat, and I wasn't familiar that
it's
Scat...
quite funny that you say start riffing. I didn't start riffing, I started talking shit.
I was being generous, man. Take it. And I was like, yeah, you should check out Mr. Scat. I was like, is this a musical enterprise by any chance? I'm like, well, just go ahead and look. Just put in MrScat.com and that's fine. I thought, oh, okay, fine, sure. I'll, you've never steered me wrong before. Oh my God! Oh dear. And I see. And I think you get to MrScat.com, and I think right on the homepage there was a woman in a bathtub.
MrScat.com. Because Scatman.com was taken.
It was
Scatman John.
It was a strategic domain acquisition, I feel. And yeah, I seem to remember on the homepage there was a nice tidy picture of a woman in a bathtub, face naturally blurred out. Tub girl lying on her back, legs akimbo, just firing out this orange fountain of shit from her pocket anus.
Type in tub girl. Type in tub girl into Google. I bet you it comes up. if you just type in tub girl. Seriously.
Girl.
Yeah. So type in tub girl. Yeah.
Tub girl. Hang on.
We've descended into this now.
Oh my God!
You didn't find a dirty image just by typing in tub girl, did you?
Oh my God!
Almost like it's a well-known photograph or something.
Yes. Well, that's taking me right back in time.
Did you find? I'm surprised it was the first thing that came up.
Oh no! It's a second thumbnail. So there's a little.
Imagine if you're building your website, like you're building your family business website. Your business is in the local area, 10 miles that way and 10 miles that way. We redo bathrooms, right? And you think I'll do a website. That's what people are doing now. I'll do a website for our business. Well, I've got a great little stock photo here of a little boy in a shower. That's fun, kind of like having fun in a shower in like Wellington boots. He's not nude. All right.
Okay.
Don't go there.
Okay.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Don't put in nude shower boy.
No, don't. Yeah. The critical thing here is don't put in nude or shit. Now, what about if I just type in tub girl? Tub girl. Do you think people would find it that way? It's like footumsh. How many people would actually stumble upon that?
Well, maybe if they were like, I don't think anyone's going to punch in footage kind of erroneously with that, but maybe a misspelling would kind of take you there. But I think it's pretty remote. But tub girls, it's not.
So, but you could type in tub girl, not looking for anything to do with poo or sex.
I don't know. I think if you're putting girl on the end of it, I think Google knows to streamline the searches, really.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Like I bet you can type in Pikachu and you'll just get nothing but, pictures of Pikachu whether they be from the studio or fan pictures or stuff. But as soon as you type in Pikachu girl,
it'll get dark pretty quickly.
You are looking into
or
the
shameful.
void.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Pikachu porn was something else. Do you remember?
Yes, I do. And like, what is it? Pikachu looked like a fucking burn victim.
It was a nightmare.
It was a nightmare.
A fucking nightmare.
I can't remember where it was, but I was listening to it. I think I can't remember where. They were talking about like porn parodies and stuff like that, and they talked about, and they looked it up, was like Simpson porn parodies, and I never got to see the clips themselves, but they just played the audio, and it was kind of bizarre because the people that were doing it,
you said they were good, yeah,
they were really good, yeah. Like the guy that did Homer Simpson did a surprisingly good impression. I have no idea what he fucking looks like. I imagine like the way they will have like slapped yellow paint all of them would have been pretty horrific to look at. But
well, come on, we'll press enter at the same time. Type in Homer Simpson porn parody right into the search bar.
Okay.
And search. Okay, Homer and Marge's secret sex tape Simpsons. All right. Okay. So I'm gonna images.
Surprisingly, it's just. Hang on, no. What's going on here? Oh my god. I'm getting a lot of stuff with Marge and a giant ass, but I'm not seeing Homer Simpson so much. I've seen one fucking wonderful one where Marge is on all fours and she says Bart's head coming out of her ass.
and Bart Simpson is saying, Homer, help, Mom's butt is eating me. Oh man, that's a window into somebody's mind.
Yeah, that's
isn't it?
That's some banana shit. Oh dear.
Oh well.
That's easily enough of that for the time being.
I bet there isn't that many people who would really want to consume all of that. I mean, I'm just looking at like the actual porn pictures of the parody porn pictures, and it's just like people who've got yellow paint on having sex. I mean, what the fuck? Oh, that's what I need now to get off. Anything that's fucking bananas. What is it? Just fuck off, world.
Yeah, just a little bit. Fuck that.
I suppose I brought that on myself. So I watched Click just now.
Okay. How did you fare?
It was really bad.
You say that like you expected more.
I don't think they put a lot of effort into it, Damien.
Really now?
I know. It was so shit. But what I was thinking about was if he's got this remote that can stop time. Same with Bernard's watch. Same with, we've seen this thing a million times. Something that can stop time. After 8 minutes, do you think that the only light being emitted would be artificial light because the light from the sun came 8 minutes, that occurred 8 minutes ago, has been stopped, or not has been stopped, but has reached the earth. So you'd just be in darkness. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
because everything stops. But then, if that's the case, if the sunlight stops, then I guess almost instantly, everything that you can see, if you stop time, everything you can see would immediately vanish.
Yeah, no,
the light would have.
It's not traveling, essentially.
It's not traveling anymore. Yeah.
So he freezes time, and as soon as he steps out of place, he goes completely and utterly, hopelessly blind. Drops the fucking remote, right?
Things are still there.
Oh yeah. He still lives in a physical world that he is frozen, but he is now in this nightmarish limbo where he can never find his way back.
He immediately drops the remote into a sewer, and his only chance of ever restoring the entire universe into one that is moving and things are happening is he has to sort of crawl his way to the processing plant. To wade through all this sewage for years and years and years until he finds a remote.
Well, it's not even that, but he obviously he relinquishes it from his hands. But the laws of physics don't apply, so it doesn't move or anything. Once he lets go of it, it stays in place. But he just doesn't know where it is, and because he's everything else is frozen in time, he doesn't age anymore either. Even though he is he's aware of it.
So he's just trapped forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, and he with every step he's walking
in the nanoverse, if you will. Imagine being trapped in a tiny little miniature town, and the only thing to keep you company is a giant ladybird that wants to eat you and a tiny Michael Douglas. There's a giant ladybird that wants to eat a normal sized ladybird. You're tiny. You're like an aphid. It wants to eat you, and the only person you have for company is like a 3-foot Michael Douglas.
So by your perspective, he's absolutely fucking colossal.
I mean, he's like the size of Monaco to me. Do you know what I mean? He's the size of a small nation state.
Right, okay, so again, you're in this situation, you're immortal. So you spend what is the better part of like 10,000 years just trying to communicate with this like Titan Michael Douglas. And you have to signal, and you find out that regular communication won't hack it because he can barely see you. He doesn't register you as a life form, so you have to find these very obscure ways of signaling to him.
What we have to do is we get a system where he puts down a very, very sort of low gram per inch piece of paper, very flat as it can be, so I can get on it, and then I take like tiny little bits of I don't know, what would you say, like crayon or something, and I over the course of an entire day will try to write out a single letter, and then after a week I might have a word. That's how we communicate. And then he's like, he looks at it and it just says chips, and he says, "No, just bought your fucking pizza."
You just have to spend the next week saying, "No, fuck off. That's not what I wanted," or months even,
But when he comes with the chips, there's a lot of chip.
Well, surely if you're aphid size, one chip should suffice. Don't get greedy here.
Yeah, one chip would be. I mean, yeah.
At this point, you've wasted a day fucking trying to carve out S, your plural, when you don't realize you could have saved yourself an entire 24-hour period and already be fucking noshing on one giant chip, which will sustain you for months on end.
Well, like Michael Douglas peered over and went like, he's written chip, and it looks like he's writing S. Does he want chips? Should I tell him I'm not going to get him chips now, or should I wait to make sure he's not saying something like Chipsula?
At the end of a long, arduous fucking week, he looks on this message and he doesn't decide to kind of, pour a favor on you at all, and immediately shakes his head. No. Because up until that point, he's been completely frozen. But now he operates almost, in real time, in relation to you. He fucking dusts you off.
He operates in the same time as me. It's not like I've got giant vision where he's for some reason really slow. He operates in the same way. It's just like he has spent the last 24 hours just staring at this very slowly forming word, like a madman. He's back on the speed. That's what it is.
You'd think
you
he'd
can't
be more
blame him
erratic.
the way Catherine is. What?
You'd think he'd be more erratic, not quite so stoic and stationary.
I imagine he's a man who does a lot of work on his beard.
A lot of grooming. I reckon it's
a lot of grooming.
It's like a 12-piece kit, and that's just like the combs alone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 12-piece kit and 3 different scissors for different stages.
So there's no clippers involved here, no electrical clippers. You think he's old school?
I start with the general scissors, and then I go on to the fine work, and then I go on to the tidy work. Now that's where most people would leave off, but the secret is you got to do the tidy work, then you go back to fine, and you go over it again in fine, then you finish off with tidy. You see what I mean? So most people just do large, medium, small. I do large, medium, small, medium, small. It's very thorough.
We're painting this picture that he is a collector of antique shaving tackle now. I think he's got a nice horsehair brush.
He has his own unique flavour of Old Spice.
He sunk a lot of money into branding his own shaving gel. But then he immediately pour scorn on himself because it shouldn't be gel. It should be a foam.
It really, what it should be is it shouldn't be any of those things. It should be brushes that you use because you make your own foam every morning. You make your own hot lather, you see. A gentleman wouldn't, a Michael Douglas gentleman wouldn't just use foam out of a can. Oh, no. Oh, gosh.
Oh, no. What you're supposed to do is you're really supposed to carve with the straight razor rapidly. Not like these heavy strikes, but close enough. And you use the fleshy burr to kind of moisturize other parts of the face. And that's why he grows the beard, because the neck is actually this disaster, this bloody disaster area.
Right. Oh, okay. It does make sense.
But it's all grown from the chin. There's nothing on the neck, so if you can actually part it or lift it up, it's an absolute nightmare.
No, I've often thought that his neck is his weak point. And if I was him, I'd wear a suit where sort of the collar goes right up to the end of the beard. Sort of, past the Adam's apple.
Yeah, he can't
wear a
handle
suit right up to the Adam's apple.
He can't handle a turtleneck because of all the exposed nerve endings.
Oh, and because of the connotations.
The connotations, yes.
Yeah.
Just let that air out a little bit.
Yeah, Steve Jobs' last name wasn't really Jobs, right? You know how he got that last name, right? Yeah. The connotations.
Sorry, can we
just pause for 5 minutes? Is that alright?
Well, tickle my urethra with a cheeky finger if it isn't time for your horoscope. Cancer, June 22nd to July 22nd. Your fresh new attitude will open up new avenues for you at work. Kathy from HR will accidentally leave her purse in the break room. This is just the opportunity you've been waiting for. Rummaging through it sweaty-handed in a bathroom stall, you will discover a Costco card listing her address. You will take a half day, as the hardware store is 2 states over. You will need supplies. You will have a dream involving Sam Elliott. Sam is a lot of fun to hang out with, so do enjoy yourself. Just don't let him get within arm's reach. Be sure to maintain, say, a meter's distance at all times. He may be a lovely fellow, but as we all know, if Sam Elliott bites you in the dream, he bites you in real life. Whatever your body is feeling, and whatever discomfort you may experience during this cycle is mostly related to the food you put in your body. No, your shit should not smell like Jägermeister. And yes, you are dying. But don't let that ruin your angel delight. Don't let people get under your skin. It's a waste of time to worry about the fickle, blinkered judgments of others, but more importantly, it's also how the Baldwin brothers breed. And I think we can all agree we don't need any more of those degenerate cunts. Your lucky day this week is Friday. Your lucky number, the I-87 through Binghamton headed towards New Hampshire. And your lucky time is a flat circle. Remember to pack those supplies. The Great Lakes are magical at this time of year, and it will be delightful to have someone to share them with. For a time. Goodbye.
Let me just, I didn't press anything, but let's just check that it's still there. Yep. Yeah, cool. So
Okay, so we just had a break. So to get back on topic, I watched Click, and
it went a little bit crazy, didn't it?
It cost $70 million to make.
70.
70.
And do you have any idea
do you have any proof
how much
of this horrible allegation?
Well, I want to know how much Adam Sandler was paid for that. I imagine it'd be a hefty sum, a good chunk of that.
Yeah, I imagine it'd be like $7,000 or $8,000 probably. The amount of work he put into it, yeah. Yeah, it made $237 million worldwide, so it did make money.
Did Pixels do well? I can't remember. Was that?
Oh yeah, it did do fairly well. It was made for an estimated $88 million, and worldwide it's made $244 million. So it did pretty well, yeah. It did, it made money.
That's one of the many reasons I don't like or trust people.
Because of Pixels doing well. It's kids, isn't it? It's people with kids.
Really? I don't know. I feel like
who else is it going to be?
I guess it's like fans loyal to Adam Sandler dragging their kids along. But I can't imagine kids these days would see like, oh yeah, it's a giant Pac-Man. We got to, let's check that. I imagine a lot of kids are like, what the fuck is that? And why is that relevant at all? It's like, no, come on. This guy's really funny. I used to watch him all the time. Well, Dad, fuck off.
Yeah. I used to really, really like him. He had this really kind of unique thing where he would play a borderline retard. No other comic has ever done it. It was really something. I mean, that's what they used to be, right?
Yeah, like consistently.
Yeah, he used to do that, and then it kind of changed into, well, I'm kind of too old for that, so I'll just... I mean, Steve Martin was successful without being funny, so it can work for me. Steve Martin's kind of likable, I guess.
More likable than Adam Sandler. I give him more of a time of day than that piece of shit.
I'd rather have Adam Sandler look after my children.
What have you heard about Steve Martin?
I've not heard anything. It's just the vibe I get.
It's just like he had white hair when he was 30.
Don't get any vibe. No, I don't get any vibe. I'd like to make really clear I don't think that Steve Martin is a paedophile or anything. I mean, but he could be.
Could be. I mean, I think by explicitly stating that, you will coloured people's minds.
Well, in that case, I should say that he's probably not.
I mean, there's obviously a chance. Yeah.
Well, if you look at world stats, I mean, I think it's something like there's a 94% chance that he's not a paedophile.
Yeah, if that was the case, how many paedophiles would there be in a square mile?
Oh yeah,
densely populated. Yeah, that's horrific. Steve Martin could easily be one of those people. Fuck.
Yeah, but if he was, Martin Short wouldn't be his friend. Because Martin Short is not, definitely not. Martin Short is like 100% not a paedophile. You can just tell.
But maybe that's why the friend...
He fucking hates
There's
kids.
a long-standing, friendship there. Maybe, back when they...
Oh, you're saying maybe Martin Short's his beard?
Oh, maybe,
So he can fiddle children.
I'm sure when, they first met, he would have had some, very kind of boyish looks.
So one night, Martin Short is asleep next to his beautiful young African wife. And then just suddenly, his eyes open. Just suddenly he's awake. And she's like, "What's wrong, baby?" And he says, "Steve Martin's loose." Gets the gun from under his pillow, opens the drawer, puts the silver bullet into it, and there he's off. You can just tell. It's a full moon. Every time it's a full moon, he's like, it could be tonight. Probably won't be. Haven't had an incident in 27 years. But I'm always vigilant. Monique. V for Vendetta.
I was wondering if we were ever going to get around to it.
Do we have anything else to say about Steve Martin?
And do we have anything else to say about anything other than the movie we said we'd talk about? Because I really don't want to.
Damien, wasn't V for Vendetta fun? Tell us about V for Vendetta.
Oh, no, I mean, you're not asking me to kind of synopsisize it.
Yes, yeah, you're really good at it. Yeah, do it. It's kind of spooky. It's sort of...
It's not
spooky, man.
It's not spooky at all.
It's sort of spy-like. And that's
okay.
Is that spy music or is that sex music?
It's kind of strippery kind of music.
Okay. All right, well, okay, I'll change it then. You speak.
Okay, so Natalie Portman is kind of just bouncing around with a terrible English accent. And then for some reason, we have this dude in the mask who just seems to hate everything and decides that it all must go. Now, I found this movie quite boring. and I've watched it in 3 sittings, and I've yet to kind of I've yet to stitch them together in my head.
I like it when Gary Oldman goes, "Everyone!" Like he's really drugged up, like he was in real life when he did that.
Yeah, I did. I enjoyed some of the choices of cast.
V for Vendetta is about a sort of faceless protagonist. Well, is he the protagonist? It's about a faceless character who wants to destroy the Houses of Parliament because he hates the government. But never in the film does it explicitly tell us that they've suspended the vote. I mean, just wait until the next election. It's like a year away, dude. Right? It never tells us that they've suspended. They have a parliament, and they're doing all this like media spin all the time, which kind of suggests that the media is still at least somewhat free. I was never really sure for a film that's basically revolution. The film, it never really tells us what they're revolting against. The government, I mean, the government doesn't seem good or anything, but they don't seem that bad.
Yeah, there's a lot of this really naff kind of everyday kind of families on couches shots in this movie, and yeah, as you said, it's a movie about wanting to revolt against this awful government, but everyday life seems pretty kind of standard and adequate, and it other than when they cut to John Hurt against what is obviously a spin on fucking Nazi iconography, because that's what you do. Well, everything else seems quite fine. Like people seem perfectly content. Apparently, people get rounded up for some reason.
It's like the Wachowskis who wrote the script. It's like they wanted to do a movie with a message about standing up to some part of today's society that they don't agree with, and fine. But then they thought, or someone said to them, okay, so in the film, are people going to be standing up against communism? No, 1984 did that. We don't want to do that. Capitalism? No, because then people will call us communists. Authoritarianism? Yeah, no one likes authoritarianism, but they kind of do. I mean, that's the society we live in. It's authoritarian, but it's not authoritarian to the point where it's a dystopia.
Mm-hmm.
This whole film is branded to be a film that kind of asks questions and things like that. And no,
yeah, no, I completely agree. I'm just trying to find the words here. It's very kind of schlocky and cheap. It's what really kind of wants to be a little bit more high concept in that regard. But then as soon as it kind of gets to any kind of action sequences, and you got like the bullet time and the fucking motion blur, it's like, oh, this is what it. They're just looking for an excuse to kind of churn this shit out.
It's almost like someone had written a script about D-Day, about the beaches on D-Day, and the Americans invading Normandy and starting to liberate France. But then the producers had said to them, "We're going to keep the script, but we're going to set it during the invasion of Grenada." Yeah,
and it's not even clear really who the kind of protagonist is. Conversely,
Natalie Portman.
Yeah, but then you've obviously got V throughout a lot of it as well, and it's been his cross to bear, his plans, all this kind of stuff.
V's the guy in the mask.
Yes, yeah. And then
I think we should tell people that much of the story is that V has this vendetta against the government because they're authoritarian and they tortured him as well. We find out later on, and he kind of kidnaps Natalie Portman.
Yes, it's not kind of. He very much does.
He rescues her from a situation, but then he doesn't let her go.
Yeah, he essentially brainwashes her
for a year, and then he tortures her, so she can understand what he's been through, having been tortured by the government. Although he wasn't tortured by the government, but he was definitely mistreated. But yeah,
I was never clear on that because. I guess that's one of the points where I was dropping off, but I seem to remember like waking up and they were talking about what is this? They kind of refer to as a concentration camp, right? And there was the incident at like St. Mary's or some shit like that. I can't remember. And there was this one shot of where I guess is V. You never see his face really, emerging from the fire, and there was this mention of him. There was like testing. Did I have that right? Like genetic testing or something like that.
Yes.
And he was like superhuman.
Very sci-fi,
somehow.
very never explained.
For like no reason. Like I would have kind of got on board with this a lot more if it was just a dude who was just kind of masterminding all this kind of stuff, and it was it was just an elaborate game of chess. But when you kind of just for no reason threw in this like he's got superpowers, and in that glorious shot of him emerging through from the fire, also no dick as well, which is an interesting choice. But there you go. It's like, oh well, why? That kind of felt unnecessary. It was just I don't know. You just have to crowbar in this cheaper sci-fi schlock.
He defeats the baddies at the end by wearing a bulletproof vest. For freedom.
Yes, but it was all I've done is it's for you, Natalie Portman. You make the decision. That was my whole plan all along.
I want to make a film where there's a bunch of American freedom fighters fighting to restore freedom in Washington D.C. Because the government is too authoritarian, and in order to restore freedom, they blow up the Senate. That's what you do to start a revolution. You blow up the Houses of Parliament. Isn't that exactly what Hitler did to get rid of democracy? I mean, the Houses of Parliament. I wouldn't say that they're a massive symbol of freedom. I kind of think they're almost too historical for that. But they're definitely not a symbol of oppression.
No. Yeah, it's
blow up fucking Buckingham Palace if you're going to blow up something.
Yeah, just do that for fucking kicks. It's fine.
No, but I mean, if you're gonna write the movie, you would have the dictator take up residence in Buckingham Palace, surely. And then you would blow that up, and then that can be a symbol of oppression, or something else. I don't know, but it starts with them blowing up the Old Bailey.
I don't know. I just felt like a lot of like what it's trying to say was it just incredibly juvenile. Really, it's like, well, if we do this, that makes things better.
Yeah, who'd have thought the Wachowskis came up with it?
Oh dear. Well, one thing that kind of really got under my skin is when Natalie Portman is in the prison. She finds that note from someone else that was being carted off to this prison, who was basically supposed to be the antithesis to this government, and naturally it was this kind of new agey lesbian, all this kind of stuff, and it's like as we know, if you're homosexual, you're immediately counterculture.
Yeah,
and obviously you're right. Enlightened. You can't be homosexual and conservative or anything like that. Those people don't exist.
It couldn't just be like a lesbian who just mentions it like I have a girlfriend and I am a girl. That's not why they arrested me. They arrested me because of my political writings or something, right?
Yeah, and there's no mention of that. It's just that this fucking soppy life story is like, well, I met this girl at school and, she was a bit of a vag tease. And then I met someone else.
And then she decided she would conform.
Yeah,
and I said, no, I fucking love the meat and I'll always have the meat and I'll die with the meat in my mouth.
That aside was promptly cut from the movie.
I like meat, and I think people who like meat should be able to eat meat whenever they fucking want meat. And if I want meat, I should be able to have meat. Meat! I just eat beef.
It's
to prison with you.
I prey on one animal alone. And when I say one animal, I mean one specific cow. I have been keeping it alive for a long time. I have been feasting on its leg for the last year. I have this planned out. I have a good 6 years of meals out of it. If I conform to what is a very strict diet and regimen of, well, maintaining the cow.
I'm the truest new agey type there is. I want to kill the minimum amount of things, including vegetables and plants. I want to kill the minimum amount of living things, so I'm just going to keep this one cow on ice for as long as I can. I've often thought that with whales. Like, you kill a whale, that's just one animal. You can feast on that, right? Mouthful of sticklebacks.
open a tin of pilchards, that's like fucking 30 lives gone right there. One whale. That's a very good point. Some tidy fucking logic.
Yes. I guess the whale has to eat the tiny things. Damn.
Millions of them. That's why we need to get rid of those fucking whales.
Now I wish I was watching The Man in the Iron Mask. I think this film needed an iron mask. And Leonardo DiCaprio.
I think what it needs is one of those frog masks from Dr. Phibes just clamping down on fucking Natalie Portman.
Is it Phibes or Phoebes? I can never remember.
I always said Phibes. Man in the Iron Mask. We're giving a nice little preview for next week.
I think there's numerous versions.
I definitely saw the DiCaprio version. I know that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Is that when you had DiCaprio on your wall? Oh, you were so in love with him.
No, I know when I was younger, I go the weekends. I'd stay at my nan's house sometimes. With my auntie was still quite young at the time.
She had she was the first person in your family to have the internet, and you would find yourself trousers around your ankles looking at pictures of old Leo, weren't you? Ooh.
No, this was a pre-internet age, but she was really
What?
Yeah, really old. Yeah, all the posters were all over all the fucking walls all the time. DiCaprio was one of them. Like these kind of.
How old was your auntie?
She's, I think, like 6 or 7 years older than me. So she.
Okay.
So when I was staying over, she would have been like 14, 15.
Oh, okay. Because I thought you were talking about a 30-year-old woman. No, I was like, okay, that's weird.
That would be weird.
That would be weird, wouldn't it?
That would be weird. Except I did visit her once when she would have been in her 30s, and there was a massive Robert Pattinson poster in, I think, one of the rooms. She clearly hasn't outgrown that. But no, it was just like I go to sleep.
Can you imagine going there? Oh no, never mind. Oh wait, sorry. She's not going to listen to this.
No, of course not. No.
That is nuts, though. Having a Robert Pattinson poster up when you.
It's not just that. It was like a floor standing thing. It was like fucking almost 6 feet tall. It's like life size. I don't know where you find stuff like that. I used to see loads of posters like.
Well, the same sort of shop where you buy like knitting supplies and stuff to dress your 12 cats in. I think.
Yeah, but I would see loads of like similar kind of posters in HMV, but they're always like a poster cut size. This was, as I say, there was something specific. I dare say bespoke.
What?
Yeah, you're reading from that a little bit. Imagine what are the connotations there.
And now, I'm just thinking there must be somewhere where you can get like a Robert Pattinson full-size pillow for dry humping.
Well, there is always Google. We could find out at the touch of a button.
Right, and the Premiere one, because there's two on Amazon and they look the same, but the one that costs $20 more, that's the one with the concealed zip. And believe me, ladies, it matters.
No, it's made from a coarser fabric, which provides more stimulation during the dry hump. It's worth shilling for that extra 30 quid for the, as I say, the coarser fabric. There are no extra appendages or features.
It's like fucking sandpaper.
But kind of rubberized a little bit. So you're not gonna blister yourself.
But it's the same texture. It's just not sharp.
It does come with a warning saying you must at least keep your underwear on.
In the store.
It's fair game when you get it home.
Oh yeah, you can do whatever you want. You can rip the tags off or whatever. By the way, we also sell strap-ons that can fit this pillow perfectly. We're not saying they go together or anything.
No. It's part of a line. It's designed to attach to a number of dolls that we sell in the store.
There must be a Robert Pattinson strap-on pillow in existence already. There must be. It is the rule of capitalism, no?
Well, I don't want to say it's been manufactured, but I do think like there will be some diehard fans
There's
that
patents.
will have, like. Oh, maybe there. I don't know. I definitely know they have been crafted by these very eager amateurs.
I'm sure there's these exact things, but not in his face. You just have to get his face made by a third party. That's what.
It's like someone
why-
goes to
that's-
like a custom T-shirt store and it's just like, all right.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that's why 3D printing is going to revolutionise all of the textile industry.
Well, I mean, I'm not quite sure when it comes to 3D printing because the only, granted, it's been a while now, but what they would print was in quite a rigid material. Do you reckon it's going to get to a point where 3D printing can, print in a number of materials that can be more flexible, more malleable, perhaps? I mean, that would definitely decimate that industry.
I don't think it would decimate it. I think they would use it to kind of, make dolls that have interchangeable parts and things.
Right. Okay. No, I just imagine a lot of kind of
A lot of
man up
lonely
the
men
street just by
making
shilling
their own
like
sex
fucking
doll.
shilling $3,000 to make an infinite supply of fucking dildos.
I imagine the material you print with is quite expensive, like more expensive than just buying a dildo. No, I mean, it's going to be like silicone or something.
Yeah, but
isn't it?
you buy it wholesale, so the
I see. So
the amount of
I see.
dildos you can make out of that would definitely be any kind of store price.
Listen, we both did electronics at school. We know firsthand that it's cheaper to vacuum form them.
Just get a couple of wooden blocks strategically placed.
Our school had a vacuum former, and the only time I ever saw it in use was when we made a dildo. It wasn't a dildo. It wasn't a dildo though, because it was like a theatre dildo. It didn't have the fourth wall. You
Yes,
know what I mean?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So basically,
It was a dildo set.
the actual dildo was the wooden blocks that we used to frame it. Basically,
I guess.
we just
I guess, but
wrapped
they
it in plastic partially. It's like, boys, why have you made a letter T?
with a urethra. It was like that. We didn't make those blocks or anything.
Did
we
we
just
make?
found them.
Did we give it a urethra? Like I don't remember that kind of specificity. I just remember it being really crude.
Yeah, Dan got a hacksaw, like God, back on day one, and gave it a little dent. And it's like, yeah, that's what it will piss out of.
It's important to fucking focus on the details. Well, are you going to like carve some pubes into the ball sack or anything like that?
Carve some pubes.
Well, no, you wouldn't carve it in; they would protrude. No, would you just throw some you just throw some string in there when we vac it, just give it a bit more texture.
Yeah, the advanced model that Ionia had plans for, they were hollowed out and filled with balloons full of soap. So you could your dildo could come.
So you were going to vacuum rather than that rigid plastic. Once it's set, we'd vacuum form something a little bit more flexible, so you could actually squeeze it.
Well, yeah, and he also had this sort of like button pressure system on dropship from China, so to get it squirting out good and everything.
Oh, so there were certain pressure points that you would have to work for the soap to come out. You couldn't just squeeze it. You'd have to learn how to manipulate it in the correct fashion.
I mean, that's definitely not what I just said, but yeah, that is.
Well, look,
You sort of have to massage it, like you would a sort of a puppy that has great skin, and you don't want it to freak out before you take the skin.
I was going to say, but you can't help but stroke it.
Yeah, because it's delicious.
Well,
Dog is a fine meal. I watched that the other day as well. Fucking hell. You seen that?
Dog, what's that?
P is for Patriot, I think it's called.
No, I haven't seen that. What is that?
It's Mel Gibson screaming at redcoats.
Okay, you might have mentioned it's vaguely familiar now.
The Patriot.
I put in P's for fucking Patriot. Fuck's sake.
Okay, well, sorry. Yeah,
No,
the
yeah,
Patriot.
I haven't seen it. I'm familiar with that.
Yeah, I watched it, yeah.
All right, okay. It's a more solid recommendation than V for Vendetta. Is that what you're telling me?
Oh no. It's almost 3 hours long.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, don't bother with that.
Play it at 200% or something like that.
Yeah, and do something else. In
another
room.
building. Leave the house properly and let someone else deal with it.
It's like shitting your pants, and to deal with it, you just take your pants off.
And run out the cubicle down the hallway to the closest exit of the work. Hopefully your line manager doesn't see you, even though the fact that your dick is swinging in the wind there.
I remember once I was talking to someone who'd spent their entire working life behind a bar, and I said, how many people have shit their pants? And they said, in 40 years, 3. That can't be true. That must happen all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. This guy hadn't learned to like read the signs.
No, Canadians, so different. They've got moderation or something. It's moderation.
No, not necessarily. Maybe they just have better bowel control.
Poorer smell.
But more palatable, much more fragrant. It's actually it's enjoyable. Maybe you don't recognize it as shit.
Maybe he was a Canadian liar.
I think we've all seen that the people get very fucking careless in how they fucking deal with themselves when they get in a fucking cubicle, because you just find it all over the fucking walls. I've always contemplated what has to happen, right? Because when I'm pissed and I go to take a shit, I fall on that toilet. I almost get like stuck in it.
Cock
it's like
first, and then you just start shitting. Your cock is like touching the toilet water. Your ass is in the air, and that's just when the shit starts coming out straight into the fucking underwear.
Oh, yeah, I can only imagine that it happens deliberately, because even like blackout drunk, there's enough motor function there after fucking, a couple of decades of later, fucking turn around and sit down on a toilet. It's in there. It's ingrained. You don't fuck that up unless you're wanting to send a message.
Well, okay. So you think every time you go into public toilets again. Every time you go into a public toilet and it's covered in shit, you think that's somebody sending a message.
They must be pissed off. I've had enough of this. I spent my life shitting a certain kind of way. I'm going to shit the way they tell me to shit. It starts there. Then it's like, why do I have to shit in a toilet?
I'm laughing because it's so true. They must be pissed off. When you think about it, who wouldn't be pissed off? If that's what you're doing, that's got to be a symptom of something like that. It's not the symptom of contentment, is it?
Yeah. It's just interesting that that's the fight they choose to pick. The toilet is a symbol of their oppression.
I'm going to piss everywhere. I am going to piss everywhere. Fuck this place. I am going to piss everywhere.
Oh, dear.
Oh, man.
I see it.
I think I feel like we've slightly advanced human understanding here, because I just feel instinctively that we're right. That is it. Well, you're you got it. You're the one who said it. You're right. These people are angry. They did an angry shit.
Well, they must be brutal, petulant fuckers, knowing that someone other than themselves has to come in and clean this up. They wouldn't shit like that at home.
If you're someone who's done this, you've got to visualize what you did and just think to yourself, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's okay. It's not my fault. It's Robin Williams. He's got his beard. He's looking straight at you and he's saying it's not your fault.
On a loop for 2 hours every night before you go to sleep.
It's not your fault. And really it is.
Yeah, Robin Williams has been lying to you.
Yeah, Robin Williams is kind of telling you as well that it is your fault.
He tilts his head forward a little bit, furrows his brow when he says it, and he's giving you a little bit of an out, but it's there. That pang of truth. You can't outrun that. You fucked up. You shat all over that fucking cubicle because you were a small man.
Larry said that thing to you at the office, and you pretended like it was just water off a duck's back, didn't you? But it wasn't. So you went over. You went over to Nando's. You waited all that time. You needed a shit at 10. You knew you weren't going to get over to Nando's until 12:45. It was going to take you 15 minutes to get out of the building. You went over to Nando's. You stored it up, and you shit all over the cubicle.
I reckon, like, the first time something like that happens, it's like an unconscious reaction, right?
William Dafoe tapping a turd and going, "This is a premeditated shit."
Well, I think maybe that's it. The first time is kind of like an accident. It's like a blowout. They don't really know what happened. They were pissed, And they had this stuff on their mind, but then they realized that provided the relief. They go back to work looking for conflict because then at that point it gives them the excuse to fucking make a mess beyond all comprehension in any manner of public toilet. They pray for it.
And then maybe eventually somebody from Nando's comes over to the office and it gets around, oh, there was another angry cubicle-wide shit. Who was there? And they start to narrow it down. Ooh.
The MO doesn't mash up. This is a copycat.
The person who did this one definitely couldn't have done this one. They're too different. They're two different shits.
The diet is way off. Right? There was a consistency.
The hue
before
is different.
That it isn't, and the patterning. It's all off. This person is not
Clearly.
angling themselves in the same way or providing the same kind of force. It's almost like this person reached in the toilet,
And
picked
they're
it up and wiped it over the.
I mean,
just wiped it down the walls.
And they're hoppy in the same way. It's like they're both hoppy in a 120-minute way, but they're both very different whilst being hoppy. Hoppy they are.
No, it just doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. There's something we're missing. We can't see it, but it's there.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty grim bathrooms. Thinking about it, yeah, those people must have been angry, or like on a fucking merry-go-round or something.
I don't know. I see similar stuff at work quite a bit. Obviously, because we don't have urinals in the men's bathroom. It's just cubicles, right? And more often than not, I'll go in looking
Toilet
to take
chats.
a shit. Yeah, that's what I do.
You, the viewers, voted for toilet chat. You could have chosen Netflix chat, but no, you chose toilet chat.
And I go with the ambition of taking a shit, and I have to beat a hasty retreat because there's only 3 of them.
Retreat is a horrible word to use when you are talking about having a shit.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you check the toilet seats, and I don't know, man. I guess these people hate their jobs, but it's just the toilet seats themselves are just covered in piss and pubes. I would say like 70% of the time. And like they're all adults, right? Everyone at the very least, right? If you had some kind of early onset Parkinson's and you're trying to piss and your hands going all over the place, guiding the stream in ways that, are terribly embarrassing, you couldn't ever imagine, that's fine. But no one's like that. At the very least, you'd know to pull up the toilet seat. These guys don't give a fuck. They blow out the fucking piss, knowing that they're satisfied. Not only that, they'll have made someone else's day more difficult. Fuck these people. Fuck my colleagues.
In conclusion, V for Vendetta is a film of contrasts. Did you know that V for Vendetta, the guy playing V, left filming after about 4 weeks? And Hugo Weaving took over and did the voice.
Right, okay. Okay.
Hugo Weaving, maybe better known as Agent Smith in Abe's Exodus. What film was it?
The one with the shiny leather. You just... all you've got is your browser history in your mind. It's like, oh, fuck.
Oh. Pony leather.
There's too much bondage to kind of go through that I can't differentiate. Oh, The Matrix.
Yeah, The Matrix does sound like a kind of, a leather bar, doesn't it?
I have no doubt that it's out there. Well, it might not be now, but I'm sure, early 2000s, there would have been many of them. These pansexual bazaars.
Where nothing happens.
There's no fucking turn up. I'm a couple of really eager nerds, but then, be at a hasty retreat when it's just them.
It's like 95% men, and then like one girl who's like either didn't know what it was or like just wants to fucking bang.
Oh, no, I was going to say someone that's, just as eager, but with a very, very high BMI.
I was also going to say that as well.
But you let me be the cunt.
It's like, isn't there that Poirot where there's a man and his wife is like this beautiful young woman, but she's paralyzed from the neck down, and she always looks fucking terrified of him.
Oh, fucking hell. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I watched that
I mean, the episode
right after my
like,
CAD
sounds...
file.
CAD file? I haven't thought about that in fucking years.
I'm sure the last time you thought about it was when we mentioned it at the Christmas thing, the live stream.
Oh, of course we did. Yes, yeah. Fucking hell.
We spent like 20 minutes talking about CAD file. Well, are we done? Do we have anything else to say about whatever we were talking about today?
No, I think I think everything else we didn't, we refused to talk about was much more fun. I thought there was plenty of it.
I thought that V for Vendetta, one thing I would want to say is I thought V for Vendetta was very, very boring.
Boring, very boring. It was just the choice of the mask. It felt like it felt for what they were trying to do and what they could have done. It was just very juvenile. It's like, well, I'm reading this book, this comic book, which I really, really like, and I think this is what it's kind of about. Maybe we should use that. Oh, come on. It's like Anonymous obviously.
Sure thing, Andy. I, as Larry Wachowski, think that is a jolly good idea. Thanks, Larry.
I really want to watch that fucking Poirot episode more than anything else, but I don't think this.
Yeah, I can't even remember who Poirot was. Next week we'll be doing something else, or possibly this again. Yeah, probably that really.
I think it'll be exactly the same.
Yeah.
Next week.
Okay. Well, I hope you can take that dollop of truth, YouTube. See ya.
Goodbye.
Wouldn't want to be ya.
Oh.
Or maybe I would.
All right, that's perfect. It's going to be that awkward.